Now we could go ahead and manipulate this dress with the selection that we have, but we're going to have a same issue that we ran into before, where if we make any changes and then we do other edits, we won't be able to come back to those changes. So we want to work again non-destructively. And the best way to do that is what is called a mask. And a mask is basically, if you think of masking tape, if you know what that is, it's used for painting, and it allows you to mask off a part of your wall or your artwork and paint. And then when you pull the mask up, you haven't damaged any of the places that you have masked off. And it's the same way that it works. But let's go ahead and take a look at that, because it'll be easier to show you than to just explain it. So I have my woman only layer selected, and I want to add a layer mask to this layer. By doing that, I just go down and click on the Add Layer Mask button in the Layers panel. I'm going to click on that one time. And now what has happened is it has masked out just the part that we had selected. If you look in the preview window, you will see that everything is black, and wherever there is white is the actual part that we selected. And that is how a layer mask works. It works on values of black and white and all the different shades in between. So we can actually add to and subtract from this mask. And what you'll notice is that the actual image hasn't been damaged either. This is working non-destructively. So if we want to go ahead and hide this, we can right click on it, and then we can go to Disable Layer Mask. When I do, you can see that we're still on the woman only layer. She's still intact, but now we can edit with just the mask, and there's a big X through the mask preview. So I'm going to right click and enable that again, and we can go ahead and manipulate this image or this mask. But let me just show you real fast how the mask works. So remember, wherever there's white is stuff that we will see, and wherever there's black is things that we will hide. I'm going to go to my tools panel. In the left hand corner I have swatches, and right now they're gray. If I click on this white and black icon, it'll actually change it to a white and black mask. Now white is foreground, and that's on top. So that means wherever I draw, it's going to be white, and we're going to see that image. So go to your paintbrush, make sure you have white selected, pick a pretty good size brush, and we can actually color back in the arm. And what's happening is we're not really erasing, so we're not damaging the image. We are just editing the layer mask, and the layer mask is used to either hide or show parts of the image. So let's say we wanted to get rid of the arm. We could change this by hitting these two arrows in the bottom corner. It'll flip-flop those for us. And now black is on top, and black will take away from the layer mask. You got to be careful though, because you could actually go into the dress and damage the dress. But as I make changes, if you can see in the preview window, I know it's a little small, it's actually showing those changes happening with the black and the white. So that's one way that we can edit non-destructively, is by only adjusting the mask. Well, this is really great, is if you make a mistake, let's say you come in here and you wanted to do a little better fine tuning of the hand, you could do that. So we could take our brush, and let's just go ahead and switch these. And we can see where our image is. And then I'm going to hit X. The shortcut key X actually changes the foreground and background color. And now if I could use a brush a little easier, maybe if you have a tablet, you could come in here and you could paint the mask instead of worrying about the selection. The selection is great because it gives us a base to start with, but then you could come in here and use your brush and really fine tune any mistakes that you had. And there's all kinds of other cool things that you can do with masks. But this gives you a pretty good general idea of how to do that. So once you have the dress selected, the woman only, let's go ahead and change the name to dress. So we have our dress layer. We're going to change the name. So that's this dress layer. We have our woman in red dress, that's our editing layer and our original layer. But now we have just the dress with the mask. And now what we can do is we can change the color of that dress. And we're going to do that with another adjustment layer. So go down into the adjustment layers, and this time go ahead and pick hue and saturation. And now what you can do is you can manipulate that layer. So what's happening is you're manipulating an adjustment layer, which is hue and saturation, and that is manipulating everything below it, which is the dress layer, and it's a mask. And because we masked out just the dress, we're only seeing the dress, we are able to change the color of the dress. And then if we want to go ahead and bring back the woman, we click on the woman in red dress, and you can see it's changed the color. But the problem is it also changed everything. Now remember, these adjustment layers work by changing everything beneath it, but that's not what we want. We don't want to change the woman in red dress layer. So we don't want to change this layer. We only want to change this layer. To do that, you hold down the Alt or Option key and move your cursor in between the adjustment layer and then the dress layer. And what that tells it is it's going to tell the hue and saturation adjustment layer to only affect the layer immediately beneath it, which is the dress layer. So I'm going to hold Alt or Option and I'm going to click. And now what happens is you see that there's a little arrow that points down into the layer beneath it, showing that it's only adjusting this layer, and our background looks normal. So if I hide the dress layer, you can see the color changes. And if I hide the woman in red dress layer, you can see that that purple color is not being affected. It's only affecting the dress. Now the original photo filter layer is still affecting everything beneath it, both the dress and the background. Now you may or may not want that. You may want to move the photo filter down and then have it only affect the woman in red dress layer. Or you might want to have that photo filter be applied to the whole image. That's going to be your preference. I might turn that down just a little bit more. And then what's great is because we have built this non-destructively, that means we can go and make any of these changes that we have already done and continue to edit this image. Say we want to change the color of that dress. Well, we go back to the hue and saturation adjustment layer. It's only affecting the layer beneath it, the dress layer. And instead of using the standard hue, saturation, and lightness, hit that colorize button, and it's going to colorize the layer to whatever we want. Just the same way it worked before, but remember, we're just only affecting this layer mask dress layer. So go ahead and bump up that saturation so we have a nice saturated color. And if you want to mess around with the lightness and brightness, you can do that too. So you can maybe make a darker dress, and then you can change the hue. So here's the easy way to go through and give this any color you want. So maybe you want to give her a blue dress, or maybe just make it like a little more magenta. We'll do an extreme and just make it, say, a blue dress, and then we can mess around with the lightness and the saturation. Maybe it's a little too saturated or not saturated enough, and you can go ahead and continue editing. I can see there's a little red line kind of going around the dress. Again, I didn't take my time because I was trying to hurry up and show you, but you can still go down into your layer mask. Make sure when you click on the dress layer, you can edit the image or the layer mask, and you'll see when I click either one, a box goes around them. And so you want to make sure that you have the layer mask thumbnail selected, and now you can edit that layer mask. So I can come in and you can see that we have a little bit of red line going around. So let me grab my paintbrush. Let's switch this back to white on top because we want to add, and now I can very carefully come back in and paint that back in. I probably don't want a hard brush. I probably want something softer, so it has a bit of a fall off. So if I make a mistake and go over, it's not such a harsh edge. That might be a little too much. Let's give it a little hardness. Okay. And I can go in here and try to add that back in. So that is something that I would definitely, take my time going through, making sure that I had good selections made, and definitely, fixing this and editing it. This is the part that's going to take the longest, is really just going in and making these tweaks and trying your best to get the best selection possible. But after you have this non-destructive way of editing, you can come in here and very quickly make any changes that you want. So we can go back and we can do all these edits, and then we decide, hey, I don't like this color. Maybe I wanted to do a magenta color, or a client tells you, can you make the dress green? Well, then you can pull this file back open and you'll have that green dress there ready to go. So hopefully that gives you some really good ideas and how you can make edits to your photos. That's just a very quick overview of the capabilities that Photoshop has, but hopefully that gives you some ideas of the different things that you can actually do, because this is definitely a very powerful program and allows you to do a lot.